What are your players' most creative ways of using magic items? My rogue picked the actor feat and previously received an earring of message. He once asked if he could use the actor's feat ability to mimic voices while using the earring, so the target would hear their own voice. I said, sure, go for it. Later, he started using this combination to trick targets into thinking the message was their own thought, prompting them to instinctively answer back through the earring. It's like complex mind reading, but it's hilarious when he gets caught. A player specifically sought out 2 magic items. 1, a flying broom, and 2, a robe of useful items. For those unfamiliar, the robe has patches with images of objects. When you rip one off and throw it, it transforms into the object depicted. It includes 12 standard patches and 4d4 randomized patches determined by a d100. One possibility is a 12-foot-long rowboat. You see where this is going. Now, I didn't think it was possible, but this player rolled a 69 to 75 on 5 out of 8 D100 rolls, resulting in 5 rowboat patches. Every combat, he'd fly above his enemies on the broom, rip off a rowboat patch, and drop it straight down. He called it the Rowboat Bomber. It was hilarious every time. Grappled hostile animated gauntlets, stuffed them into a backpack, and later tossed the backpack into a room full of sleeping dungeon guards. One guard woke up, opened the bag, and 6 unarmed guards were promptly beaten to death by rogue gauntlets. That's horrifying, but also very, very funny. I was the player in this scenario. The party was aiding a nation of oppressed peoples, non-humans, against an invading human fleet. The fleet was sailing downriver, and I had the brilliant idea to drop a folding boat on the lead ship, from a height of 400 feet. I rolled a crit. The lead ship was obliterated in an explosion of water, wood, and bodies. Every soldier and sailor who saw it went from shaken to outright frightened. The DM was speechless. Player here, my arcane trickster rogue didn't have dark vision, and it was becoming a problem. He solved it by taking the light cantrip and casting it on a rock, which he keeps in an empty water pouch. Flashlight! In my group's old school campaign, I found a cursed item, the Boots of Blinding Speed. My character discovered via a random child that they made you go extremely fast while blinding you. Cue child splatter against a wall and my character becoming a fugitive. Anyway, the party used the boots to defeat an encounter. Our demoness summoned an imp, told it to wear the boots, and sent it careening into a monster. The result? One very dead monster and a splatter of imp blood. Fun times. Our druid had conjure animals. He asked me to read the spell. You can conjure animals with physical bodies to do your bidding as long as you maintain concentration and they aren't defeated. Must be cast within 60 feet of you, where you can see clearly. Well, cows have a challenge rating of 0.25, so as a level 5 druid I can summon 8 cows. You want to summon 8 cows in the middle of a battle? Well, anywhere I can see, right? Yeah? I summon 8 cows, 50 feet above the goblin leader, 10 feet in front of me. Since they are physical bodies, they'll fall and deal falling damage. No, you can't. Why can you do that? I call it Meteor Storm! Your next boss fight will be in a cave. This was me rather than another player, but I thought it was clever. A friend had to leave the session early and asked me to run his character. No problem. We were traveling through snowy terrain when the Behir attacked. As the tank, his character was immediately swallowed whole. This was 3.5, where using slashing weapons in tight spaces was nearly impossible. The only usable weapon he had was his dagger, not enough to escape before death. Desperate, I scoured his sheet for a solution, and that's when I saw it. A decanter of endless water. He popped the top, used the command word, and blasted the behir's insides, forcing it to vomit him out. Huzzah! The character was saved, and I avoid having to send a regretful, "Your character died in my care" email. Using a flying broom and a clockwork servant inside a portable hole, one character created rain anvils. The hole has no weight limit, only volume, so the servant would throw out objects mid-flight. Every combat ended with a literal shower of anvils, straight out of Toontown. My players looted some very rare materials during an adventure and handed them off to their artificer ally and love interest. After some incredible rolls in several sessions, they ended up with the Hither-Tither staff. Fast forward to their first encounter with the big bad evil guy. It's a powerful wizard in a large room with 2 chambers. The big bad always stayed just out of counterspell range before casting his spells. One player with counterspell prepared a clever move. They set up 2 portals linking the chambers, calculated the distance through the portals, and fired counterspells through them. Since they could see the big bad evil guy through the portals, and they were within 60 feet by portal math, I allowed it. It was such a unique use of the staff that I loved it. Soon, every player started using the portals for movement tricks, spell shenanigans, and more. That fight was a blast. We smuggled our barbarian into a prison tower to break out some buddies. The method? Cast Enlarge Reduce on him, stick him in a bag of holding, and slap a cap of water breathing on his head. To solve the air problem, we tied a leather bag of water around his neck. Yes, we basically pulled off a magical SpongeBob visiting Sandy with a half-orc barbarian. Oh, and another time, we kept a reincarnated Medusa head in a hooded lantern and used it as a petrification ray. That is really clever. In Session 2, my players bought capes from a tailoring monkey. A few sessions later, while exploring a swamp, they needed to sneak past some undead without alerting them. The Eldritch Knight got creative with his cloak of many fashions, turning it into swampy, leafy camouflage to negate the disadvantage from chainmail. It was a small thing, but I smiled at how excited he was about the idea. What was meant to just be a stylish item became a brilliant tool for stealth. My Clydesdale Centaur Paladin has a Featherfall cloak for one-shots. One game, me and the Goliath Paladin didn't want to climb back down cursed stairs in a haunted house. So, the Goliath hopped on my back and we jumped out the window together. Another time, we were in a tower with a bell and some magic sapping plants below. To defeat them, we needed to ring the bell. Remembering the cloak, I grabbed the rope and jumped down to sound the alarm. The DM who gave me the cloak was running that game. As a Mistwalker Ranger, I created a shadow clone behind a werewolf, swapped places with it, and cast Alter Image to look like a werewolf myself. Here's where it went wrong. I rolled a nat 1 on my dagger attack. I tripped and fell on the werewolf, dropping my weapon. The werewolf glared at me. While panicking, I pointed at my shadow clone and said, "I'm sorry! She made me do it! She said she'd fix me like her other puppy!" The werewolf jumped at my clone, which disappeared in a puff of smoke. When our eyes met, I instinctively covered where my testicles would have been. And the werewolf did the same out of fear. The DM made him take 5 points of psychic damage for how well I roleplayed my nat 1. My favorite thing my players have done. The 10th level party was delving into a deep cave. They reached a chamber with a platform over a dark pool of water and double doors on the far wall. Behind the doors, they heard someone counting. Peeking inside, they saw a beholder counting coins with stalks emerging from its fleshy sphere. They also noticed a dragon skeleton chained to the ceiling. The party cast invisibility and spider climb on one member, who successfully made it to the ceiling and cast true resurrection on the dragon skeleton. Of course, the dragon, now alive, wanted to reclaim its hoard. To finish the plan, they cast flesh to stone on the dragon and dropped it onto the beholder. They won the three-way battle between the adult red dragon, the beholder, and themselves. One party member, Gargle Mapzap, was disintegrated, but later resurrected. Absolute chaos, and it all worked out. Mold Earth is my favorite spell. Smokeless campfire, Mold Earth. Rocket stove, Mold Earth. Table and stools, guess what? Mold Earth. Do you need to bury some bodies quickly? Mold Earth. Once we sealed a small cave room with Mold Earth while fleeing soldiers and put a sloppy minor illusion on another passage. The soldiers ran into a purple worm instead. The DM had clearly planned for us to encounter the worm, but we just listened to the soldiers' screams echoing through the cave. Ha ha ha! Put out an oil fire with a bead of refreshment. They did make the argument that the liquid itself wouldn't fall in the harmful category like poisons or lava. It's the fire that's the issue. I like to give my party homebrew magic items. The Lantern of Shared Sight. It's a magical lantern that can project an image of what its light touches into the minds of creatures within 30 feet. The first thing our dwarven cleric decides to do is shove it down his pants and send the first dick pic of D&D to his party. The Wild Magic Coin. Oh no. You can flip the coin in the air, point at a creature you can see, and say, "Call it!" The creature then picks heads or tails. If they can't understand you or they refuse to pick, you pick heads or tails. A wild magic surge erupts from whomever wins the coin flip. First time used against a powerful necromancer, when I was prepared to have a long fight with lots of tactics. The player chose and lost. The effect was cast on the necromancer, and he polymorphed into a sheep, and the fight was over after one turn. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below what are your players' most creative ways of using magic items. And if you'd like to help out with the channel, you can do so by joining our membership program. You don't have to do it, but it does put some food on the table for everyone involved. And you get early access to videos, so it's a win-win. We love you all. Please be safe, happy, and healthy, and we'll see you next time. Toodaloo for now.